Israel's Foreign Minister Yair Lapid has kicked off his first diplomatic trip to Washington. It comes as the US and Israel differ over US plans to reopen its consulate in East Jerusalem in a move to rebuild relations with Palestinians. Iran too, high on the agenda.
Iran begins a massive two-day air defence drill in the central desert. But it's Iran's nuclear program that much of the world fears. One item in a packed agenda as Israel's foreign minister began meetings in Washington. This at a time the Biden administration wants new talks with Iran to restart a nuclear deal which Israel always bitterly opposed.
It's true that the centre of my visit is the Iranian nuclear program.
It's a tricky time policy-wise for the US and Israel. As Yair Lapid met House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, another backdrop was the administration's wish to reopen this building, the US Consulate in East Jerusalem, a place of diplomatic outreach to Palestinians. Back in 2018, with much fanfare, the consulate was subsumed into a US embassy controversially moved to Jerusalem by then-President Donald Trump. Israel's nationalist Prime Minister Naftali Bennett opposes any change now, a senior minister dismissing reports the government might relent if Washington holds off for another month.
We oppose it. We don't oppose it now, and we will have a different opinion after the budget. We are 100% oppose that.
In Washington, some Democrats had opposed giving Israel $1 billion to maintain the Iron Dome missile defense system used against militants in Gaza. Ms. Pelosi secured the funding, now winning thanks.
And I know you cared about it and you spent some sleepless nights over it.
Tonight, Secretary of State Antony Blinken will convene a meeting involving Mr. Lapid and the UAE's foreign minister. This in the wake of last year's normalisation agreements between Israel and Arab nations known as the Abraham Accords.
The Abraham Accords is something that the President and I strongly support,
with the hope of somehow using the Accords to advance progress on the Israel-Palestinian conflict too. One confidence-building measure between Israel and the Palestinians has been bedded down. Israel issuing permits that legalise the status of nearly 450 undocumented Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza. Raina Sarumpayat, SBS World News.